Well, we've all made it. Congratulations. Another Christmas Eve has arrived, and for better or worse, we've done what we can, except for those who have a few hours of assembling ahead of them when they go home tonight. What a huge amount of work Christmas calls for. Trees, decorations, travel plans. But of course, the largest task of all often seems to be the buying and wrapping and giving of Christmas gifts. We make our lists and wander the stores hoping to find the perfect gift, or if not that, at least it's something to check a name off the list. We overhear our children being asked, "What are you getting for Christmas?" And we ask each other anxiously, "Have you finished doing your shopping yet?" And then, of course, there's all the self-doubt. Was the gift I gave her as nice as the one she gave me? I wonder if they're going to give me a present. Maybe I better get an extra at home just in case. What a production the whole thing can be. Of course, Christmas presents were there at the very first Christmas and have been around off and on ever since. It started, of course, with the three wise men bringing their gold and frankincense and myrrh to lay before the Christ child. And ever since, gift-giving has seemed essential to Christmas. We all know the song, The 12 Days of Christmas, with its long list of foolish gifts. 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying. That song dates back several centuries. And in fact, it only became popular in the mid-1950s, and it recently turned up in a newspaper poll among the most irritating Christian songs, Christmas songs, second only to Do You Hear What I Hear and Little Drummer Boy. So what is Christmas giving and getting all about? Why does it seem so essential? What are we trying to say with our gifts? We pour our imagination and thought into choosing the right gift for someone we care about, but our gifts can take on surprising meanings. A few years ago, Garrison Keillor of Prairie Home Companion fame wrote an essay about Christmas presents. He first described being appalled one Christmas by the recent gift of a burgundy polo shirt. He said, I just never see myself as a burgundy sort of fellow. Those are the types who smoke cigarillos and sit in cocktail lounges and bet on basketball games. And so he did what he would often do. He put the shirt in a special section of his closet where he keeps for never-to-be-worn clothes. And every 3 months or so, he'll gather those together and take them to the homeless shelter. Then Keillor says this: a Christmas gift represents somebody's theory of who you are or who they wish you were. And of course, we know how to handle the wildly inappropriate gift from a stranger. But what if you see yourself as a smooth dude and a swift intellect, and then one year your wife gives you a pair of singing undershorts that perform O Tannenbaum. It gives you a pair of singing, on top of that, giving you a battery-powered coin bank in which a little farmer picks up the coins in his pitchfork and tosses them into the silo. That's when you have an identity crisis. You'd like to get a gift that aims high, Whitman's Leaves of Grass, a ticket to Nepal. Instead, there is a pair of bedroom slippers with lights in the toes so you can find your way to the bathroom. And he goes on, how many children have unwrapped a package that appeared to be a boxed set of CDs? They are excited about imagining a whole new set of the Screaming Mimes or of Roadkill. And they tear the paper off to find Bach's Brandenburg Concertos with a picture of a geeky guy holding a stick in his hand. And they think, why are you giving me this? Do you want me to be a hopeless nerd? Do you want me never to be invited to parties? Our giving is enormously complex, and the messages somehow they seem to send. One of the great themes of Christmas stories is that the real worth of the gift someone gives is irrelevant. What matters is the spirit of giving, the wanting to offer the best of what we have, our desire to delight someone who matters to us. Remember that all the little drummer boy can do is to play his drum. Ba-rum-pa-pum-pum. That's all he has to give. What matters is the spirit of giving. We probably all remember O. Henry's story, The Gift of the Magi. Two almost penniless young people in a couple living together, trying to make their way, having almost nothing, but each has one proud possession. Della has beautiful hair, and Jim has a pocket watch he loves. So as Christmas draws near, Della cuts her hair and sells it and buys Jim an expensive chain for his watch. And when she gives it to him, Jim tells her that he's sold his watch and bought her a set of pure tortoiseshell combs for her hair. And when they realize, these two who love each other so much and wanted to do the best thing, when they realize what they've done, they simply sit down and laugh. And O. Henry writes this: "Of all who give and receive such gifts, such as they are the wisest. Wisest in that they gave for love and offered the best they have." The simple story we heard this evening of the birth of the child in Bethlehem recounts what we take to be the greatest gift of all, the gift of Christmas itself. A man and a young woman, heavily pregnant, travel from their home in Nazareth to be registered in a census. It's a long, hard journey, and when they arrive, the inn is full, and they spend the night in a cattle shed. During the night, the woman's labor begins. The man helps, and she bears a baby, a son they wrap in bands of cloth to keep warm. It's such a simple story. But the grandness of the story is that we Christians believe it is also the story of God becoming flesh, coming into the world in one life, at one place, in this one child, and that child then grew to manhood and led and taught and suffered and died to lead humanity to a whole new possibility. And those who saw him there and then were utterly convinced that God, the maker of the universe, had come in that one life. Of course, it didn't look that way at the time. Both Mary and Joseph were stunned and confused when they learned that they were to have a child. And even the angels had to sing to reassure, fear not, amidst all the joy, the fear was great. Many in Judea were looking for a Messiah, but what they expected was a military leader to raise up an army, to unify the nation, to throw out the Romans. Others were looking for a pious leader who would stay out of politics and have everyone adjust their expectations and simply live under the burden of the Roman foot. And what they got was a prince born in a cow stall who would be no warrior rallying troops, but a prince of peace, a healer, a forgiver, a disturber, a man who was determined to turn the way we saw our lives and our world upside down. God's gift of love wasn't exactly what people wanted back then, and it's not really exactly what we think we would like now. We're still hoping for God to set things right in this world. In these times that seem to be so beset with global problems, terrorism, ethnic conflict, racial divisions, shameful poverty in our country, and a devastating plague among some of the most vulnerable people in the world. In the midst of all that, we want God to come and fix this in some royal way. But God's Christmas gift is a child who then became a man, practicing forgiveness, opening minds, calling people to love, showing them how to build new lives based on a love at the heart of them and their world that would never let them go. As it turns out, God's greatest gift isn't the staggering power to fix the world, but this vulnerable love that has to work one by one, step by step, to change this world that faces such grave and serious problems. I remember reading once of a bitter young man in Harlem, his response to an adult who was telling him that God loved him. The young man, stunned by that, said, "How can I trust that?" he said. "I want to see love with skin on it." And that's the great gift of this mysterious giver. This love behind the universe that holds everything in being, but it's hard to know and touch and see, took on skin once in Bethlehem. And that gritty life of love started a revolution that is still slowly but steadily seeking to spread across the world as we humans are learning the ways of compassion and generosity and forgiveness so slowly, of inclusion and welcome and embrace so slowly, but working its way as best it can. The word we have for that revolution that's at work is church. We too often think of church as a building or a beautiful service or a budget or a set of beliefs, all of which are part of it. But church is a worldwide movement to equip us all to be healers, reconcilers, givers, builders of hope. It is the way we think that busy, distracted people like us running in 1,000 directions can be held and brought back and reminded of what's at stake in our lives and in the world around us and called to be the people of love they were made to be. Every Christmas season, as the days are their darkest, somehow the tragedy in our world seems, at least to me, most intense. So in this time of year when so much perplexity is around us, I usually try to look for some sign of light. One great ray of light this year has moved me profoundly. It turned up on the cover of this year-end issue of Time magazine, naming their Person of the Year. This time it's the Ebola fighters, those unbelievably courageous medical practitioners who have put their life at risk for the sake of a desperately hurting people. Reading their stories, learning why they are there, why they stay there, why they go back, reminds you how noble our human race can be, how noble you and I can be. Dr. Jerry Brown, a surgeon who's part of a Christian mission in Monrovia, is one. Dr. Kent Brantley, the first American to contract Ebola and has survived it and keeps going back again and again, is another. Both speak of their work as a calling, of the flow of gratitude that comes from the survivors, of their determination to give and give and give again as long as they have the strength. What gifts they are giving. They know, and tonight we do too, that we are receivers of an immense Christmas gift, a love with flesh on it, a love that embraces the entire human race, a love that is alive within us and seeks to grow in our life and help to flower in our life. So as you open your Christmas gifts tonight or tomorrow, I hope you'll not forget the greatest gift of all, a love that will never let us go, born that dark night in Bethlehem, born in us again this year. May Christ's life and love grow and flourish in us, and may this one Christmas spread out all year long.